Okay, welcome to the April 23rd meeting of the Transient Guest Tax Committee. I'm Michelle Hofer. I am the chair of the committee. Christina, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Christina Valdivia, Alcala, District 2 representative.
You're there. And Spencer, introduce yourself.
Councilman Spencer Duncan, District 8.
Okay, we're all here, so next I'm going to ask if you've had a chance to read the minutes for March 6th and March 12th. Do you have any changes?
I did not. I would move to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, minutes are approved. The next one is our presentation on the NOTO Arts and Entertainment District request for funding. Josh, do you want to say anything first?
Yeah, just as a background, so we had some undistributed TGT funds since 2016, and it was to the amount of $52,114.06. And so last time the committee wanted to see where we could appropriate that money to, and so we have a representative from NOTO here presenting, and they submitted an application that was based off the 2016 applications that Jayhawk Theater did, Constitution Hall, and Evel Knievel. So they followed that same exact process. So I guess I'll turn it over to give the presentation, but that's kind of how this all began.
Okay, go ahead and introduce yourself for the record.
My name is Pedro Concepcion. I'm the CEO of the NOTO Arts and Entertainment District. I just want to honestly thank you guys for giving us a chance to apply for this funding. We've been advocating for some sort of funding for years. And now taking the opportunity, we really wanted to step up to the plate and show you what we could do if we were funded or we allocated this money to NOTO. Just like Josh said, I followed the criteria of the application for 2016, even answering the questions that were asked and trying to really give you or paint a picture of what we will use the funding for. And it all comes down to, as you see in the presentation, different ways that we can use the funding, primarily for enhancing signage and wayfinding in public art. So all this art, to an extent, like if you see the bottom left corner, the Go Topeka mural, this mural has become an iconic for tourism. Everybody that we see coming into town take pictures, and it's just become such a piece that every organization had used it at one point, from Visit Topeka to the city, and we're proud of it. We really believe that if we had funding, we can fix our murals that create this kind of impact for tourism and bring more people to the area. And not only that, we're seeing other things that we want to do, like the sidewalk that you see on the upper left side. These types of projects or murals will also enhance the visibility and the culture of NOTO, and it'll give tourists and people in Topeka a place to come and admire more art. On the second level, you see the mural that we're trying to paint on the Kansas Avenue Bridge. This has already been approved, but we can always use funding to, go the extra mile and put lighting and create and activate spaces. For example, we can use it to put lights underneath the bridge, so it could be more visible, so it could be less crime, and just enhance the area in NOTO as well. As we move forward, just giving examples. My clicker's not working. Sorry about it. All right, there you go. Giving examples about activating public spaces through seasonal programming. This is the type of programming that we do to enhance the area and activating spaces like parks, alleys, corridors, breezeways parks. All of this programming we put out for the community. And for the most part, 99.9% is all free. We also do other things in conjunction with our business owners, like the Chalk Walk, the First Friday Music, the Woodshed Market, and Day is the Day as well. So funding would help us really keep going in initiatives like this that not only create opportunities for tourism, but also give our citizens and residents a place to just appreciate the art, culture, and entertainment that Topeka has to offer. And this is just kind of a picture of everything that NOTO is, what we try to be for the city, for tourism. I appreciate what the committee does by funding programs like the ice skating rink, the Sunflower, Jayhawk. I think all those things are very important. But as we move forward too, we also need to fund places where tourism is, if they want to come and see a show at the Jayhawk, they can go to an art district and walk around. Give them abilities to experience Topeka, not just going to an event and sitting down, but exploring our city and making sure that they have a place where they can admire, talk about, and honestly come back. So by investing in our district and seeing the potential that we've been, achieving year after year, I think the funds will be allocated correctly to making sure that we move to the next phase of how we can even contribute more for the city, for tourism and our residents as well. That's honestly what I have. The application, just like Josh explained, I try to form the criteria from our project summary, what it would be used, try to answer questions that you may have. But if you guys have any further questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
I do.
Go ahead, Christina.
It might be questions, but it's really more comments than anything else. First, I want to say thank you, Pedro, for the presentation. And my sense, having, worked with NOTO all the way back from the beginning for about, a solid 5 or 6 years, there's no words to really explain how much it has advanced since that time. And I know, for example, you still have the Ballet Folklorico de Topeka out there, and I know with being good partners, it's going to be important to include them as much as possible in any of these initiatives that you're aiming for. I've never known NOTO to use money unwisely. I've never known them to, take for granted funding that they've received, and always being very appreciative. So I believe that in addition to the plan that you have laid out, there is no doubt in my mind that this will be a good use of funds. And I think that, I know in the resolution, I think it was, that we were looking at, or that was part of the packet, there was something about, for 12 or 13 years, the Great Overland Station had been given TGT money. And I know that has been mentioned before, and that's a good thing. But the Overland Station is not a part of, while they may partner, they are not a part of NOTO. And I just want to say it is very good to finally see that even though it's a small chunk of money, it's a chunk of money you all aren't going to take for granted. And it is good to see money coming your way. So I just want to say thank you for the presentation, and keep doing a good job. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Spencer, do you have any questions or comments?
No, I'll just say, I wish it could be more. I know I've complained about this now for many years, since when I was chair, and everyone who was here at the time is no longer with the city, so it doesn't matter, but the way they structured some of these other agreements originally was very unique to how we used to do it. And I think everyone who's here now has agreed we'll never do it that way again, because it's left no money, extra money on the table some years that we could have had to give to groups like yours. And we're all kind of hemmed in to the next couple of years until this shakes out. But I hope that, if money does come forward, we'll continue to look for you. So I'm glad we at least had this opportunity. It's small, it's in the grand scheme of things, but at least we were able to come up with something. And so, sorry it's not more, I guess but I am glad at least this popped up, and hopefully we'll have some more opportunities in the future.
Thank you. Honestly, we appreciate it. Just about the say $53,000 seems like it's not a lot of money, but we've been so creative and savvy in our budget for the last 9 years that we can make $53,000 have a really big impact in NOTO. And we're striving and dedicating ourselves to create programs that have low cost, high impact in the community. Doubling down on making sure we contribute to our district, and not just NOTO, but making sure we create programming that will resonate for Topeka as well too. How do we create more tourism? How do we create people to be, that love Topeka, that are encouraged to create jobs, paintings, murals, and things like that. So $53,000, I wish it was more too, but in all reality, we can make a really big impact in NOTO for that money.
Okay, I'm going to take public comment. So, Kurt, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I just want to go back a little bit for the sake of the discussion here. One of the things that, and what I'm going to say is based solely on the fact that I was intimately involved in what happened with the original generation of this money that's available and participated in the selection process that allocated that money. And one of the things that committee looked at as a very heavily weighted item in the discussion was the ability to track any return on the investment. Now, I realize that this is a small investment, I believe $52,000 or something close to that, and that's difficult to track. And I really, the message I want to convey is more for future allocations than maybe in particular to this one. But one of the things that was, as I said, was weighed very heavily was the organization's ability to track a return on their investment. And I would encourage NOTO to look into that, not necessarily for this $52,000, but on a going forward basis. We're down now. We've had some pretty heavy hits on occupancy with closure of Heartland Park. I think Sean has indicated that that's a loss of about 6,000 rooms annually in the market. My message would be to you all that transient guest tax revenue is likely to go down. I see from the trends I'm seeing right now a little bit, just due to the decrease in some occupancy. The hotels have done a tremendous job of keeping their ADR up, so that keeps, for the most part, and hopefully Sean will speak to this a little bit. But my message is pure and simple. This money, no matter how small or how large the allocation is, has got to continue to be looked at as an investment in travel and tourism, not just an investment in the market in terms of what organizations would like to have, but it needs to continue to be an investment in travel and tourism. And in order to do that, there needs to be a mechanism to track any return on that investment. If we don't use it wisely now, and I'm not saying this is not a wise use, I want you all to understand the impact, because we're going to be having these same discussions going forward as new opportunities arise. So, Sean, I'd welcome any feedback that you may have too.
And then I would like to speak after that, Chair.
No, just in a general sense, we're supporting the application that Pedro has before you guys today. We helped with some of that language as well, but Kurt is right in the assessment that we're in a lull when it comes to room demand in the city right now. We're trying to pull that up, but we do need to be mindful of return on investment with this money, or we lose the money from lack of activity.
Thank you both.
Chair,
Go ahead, Christina.
I'm not speaking for NOTO and I'm not speaking for Pedro. I'm speaking for myself, in that I certainly hope that that same information, that same little spiel is given to all others that partake of TGT funds. I think for the small amount that we're looking at and where NOTO, from what I can see, has evolved over the years, that's more or less like a chewing gum and walking at the same time kind of mechanisms that I'm sure that they already have in place. I could be assuming that, but I don't assume very often. So I just, hope that kind of commentary is reminded of every single entity that takes part in TGT funds. So I mean, I understand what is being said by Topeka Lodging Association. I guess it's a little bit, I don't know, it's a little bit disturbing from what I think that folks should already know about this money and how to utilize it. Thank you.
May I, when I answer, can I answer?
Sure.
I honestly, I appreciate this question. I think organizations should be held accountable for the money they're given. NOTO is honestly working more and more on making sure that we create data by creating surveys, and then really seeing our growth. Winning the 2025 Governor's Award for Urban Community, that was a big thing for Topeka, not just for NOTO. You know, it's really establishing us as a place for entertainment, for art, and a place where not just tourism, but residents can come in and appreciate the culture and diversity of visual art. But I do agree, I think all of us should be accountable for creating some sort of report about how are we contributing to tourism, especially for this type of money, right? I see NOTO as a partner where, again, if, for example, Jayhawk is having a concert, you know, they're coming, they're staying, but we are also offering a place where all visitors and tourism can actually come and not only have a great time in the place they came to see, but also where they came to stay. And I think if we create vibrant areas such as NOTO, I think that's a win for everybody, not just for Topekans, but for tourism, and in general for everybody to appreciate where they live, hopefully attract new talent. But I agree. I think we should create more surveys. I think we should figure out the retention that we have and making sure we provide data and give it to you guys when you guys want it.
Okay, thank you. And part of our plan, we've already done the first quarter update, but we do try and get updates, how things are progressing, how money's been spent every year, at least a couple of times. So we'll be looking forward to a report if we go forward. Spencer?
Yeah, I was just gonna make a quick comment. So, I mean, obviously this committee the last several years has sort of just been minding the store to some degree, right? Some of that money was already set, those contracts were already established. There was obviously the issue with Evel Knievel and clawing back that money, taking these extra funds that have been sitting there and finding a use for them. So there have been some other things. I do think that, though, in all the decisions that have been made over the last several years by this committee to do that, they have been done through that prism of ensuring that there is return on investment, right? What is the long-term deal? And I think we can acknowledge, we need to acknowledge that as a whole, with the exceptions of a few little help here and there, the city has not, outside of the development of NOTO initially, right? There's not been a lot of city dollars that have gone into that district compared to some other projects. And I do think we can show a pretty decent return on investment as a community for what the people NOTO brings in, whether they're visitors, whether the events that are down there that bring in people from the area. So I'm not worried about the return on investment on this. I think we have a duty to help making sure that you're maintaining what you've got and then finding a way to move it forward. And I think in doing that with things like these opportunities help you complete that mission and keep bringing people to Topeka down to NOTO. So I view this very much as within that mission that everyone's talking about as, is there a return on investment on these dollars? Are they really true to something that's going to encourage people returning to these areas? And I think it meets that goal. So appreciate it.
Okay, I'm going to close the public discussion and I am going to move on to the next item, which is the actual resolution to give this on this 52,114.06. So I'm going to ask Christine or Spencer, do you have any questions or any changes to the resolution?
I do not, Chair.
Okay, then I am looking for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Okay,
You didn't vote, Chair. I didn't hear you vote.
aye.
There we go.
Okay, so from here, I think it will get to City Council, either the May 6th or the May 13th meeting. We'll let you know when it gets to the agenda level. So be prepared for questions there. That is the last major thing on our agenda. And Kurt, I thank you for the heads up on hotel rooms, because we are going to have to look forward and see what kind of money we have coming in. It's going to affect all of our recipients. Go ahead, Spencer.
I have a request of staff, and I don't know when our next meeting will be. So whenever our next meeting is, a month from now, 2 months from now, whenever that is, or if you want to give it before, awesome. But and Josh and I have actually kind of talked about this before. I would really love to see a chart of all the projects, the 4 or 5 projects, what they've been paid up to this point through their contract versus what their total is, and so what's still then remaining on that, and to gauge if we think COVID really messed this whole process up. Because again, my always frustration with these contracts was, instead of everyone getting a set amount per year over the 12-year period, it had a kicker that said, if we happen to take in extra money one year, we'll divvy it up amongst you. Whereas in previous years, if that happened, there was extra money on the table that could be distributed to other groups like NOTO or other community groups, right? We haven't had that ability. Again, that's the part we will probably not do in the future. My point is, I'd like to see where we are on that chart, and if we think we're on pace, like, is it going to be a full 12 years? You know, it probably is. I don't need those answers today. Or are we going to get any of them done early? Again, I doubt it because of COVID. Or assuming if we just project where we're at now, are any of them going to not be made whole? Now, our contract says we don't have to quote unquote make them whole because it's based on the collection. So if that makes sense, just some kind of chart that gives us this is where we're at.
Go to the minutes, and it does give a financial summary, the first
It does.
of to date.
Yeah.
So we do know where we're at to date.
Yeah, but I'd like to see the remaining, and then if we have any projections on.
Yeah, I think it's a pertinent time to do it because we'll get our next TGT distribution hopefully this week, and so we can project out until the end of the life for the 1%. So, and we'll send it early, then we can review it at the next committee meeting.
And I ask that too now because if we've got, I think there's 3 more years or something on the 12 years? Or,
Yeah, 3 more
Okay,
years.
and so the question then becomes for us to look at starting now and next year is, if our projection says, you know, we're not going to, Group A may not all get every dollar. That's the contract, and that may be the way it is. Or do we want to look at, well, you know, if more TGT money comes in, do we want to try to make that whole in those 12 years, right? So, but we can't have those conversations without some of that information. So that's all. It'd be nice to just kind of know where we're at. Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, Christina, do you have anything else? Okay. Do you have anything else, Spencer?
No, that felt like enough.
Okay. Seeing no other business, I am going to adjourn the meeting, and thank you all for coming today.